And you're welcome. My name is Mazino Appeal. We've got, news happening now. News reaching us at News Central here has it that the Nigerian Senate has passed a bill amending the 2024 Appropriation Act to extend the implementation of its capital components from June 30th to December 31st, 2025. Now, the bill, titled A Bill to Amend the 2024 Appropriation Act to further extend the capital components of the Act, first reading during plenary on Tuesday and granted acceleration passage, was presented by the chairman of the Senate Committee on Appropriation, Senator Adeola Olamilekan. After its first reading, the Senate suspended its rules to allow the bill scale second and third reading on the same day, citing the need to give ministries, departments, and agencies more time to complete procurement processes and also capital projects. However, the debate on the floor wasn't without concern. Lawmakers, including Senator Yahaya Abdullahi, Abamoro, and Sheriake Dixon, warned against the repeated extension of capital budget timelines, calling it a worrying trend. Senator Abamoro said the legislature risks ridicule if it fails to address release delays by the Ministry of Finance, while Senator Dixon called for an investigation into why implementation continues to stall, blaming political distractions ahead of 2027. Despite these concerns, the Senate proceeded with a clause-by-clause review of the bill in the Committee of the Whole. And after consideration, the Senate leader moved for its third reading, seconded by the minority leader, and the bill was subsequently passed. Now, that's on the Senate. We are aware that the House of Reps is still debating this matter, and we will be bringing information about the reading or if it scales through. Now, first, we are going to be having guests on this topic here, but first we're going to be turning to Abuja, where we have our National Assembly correspondent, Sagir Ibrahim, who will be giving us details about the happenings currently here in Abuja, or rather in Abuja. Sagir, good afternoon, thank you, or rather evening. Thank you very much for joining us. I'm hoping you can hear me and give us perhaps an update on the instance, exactly what's going on with the readings and how it all happened or went down at the Senate.
Good afternoon, Mazino. Thank you so much for having me on the news. So today being the first day of plenary, following, of course, a month-long recess for lawmakers who observe the Salah holiday. First item on the order paper today, the extension of the timeline for the implementation of the 2024 budget from June 30th till December 31st, 2025. The National Assembly is saying it has become imperative and it has become important so as to ensure that all of the capital components of the budget that is yet to be fulfilled, there is a timeline that allows for the implementation, of all of that. But then on the floor of the National Assembly, of course, there were concerns as to the continuous extension of budget timelines. This is the 2024 budget we are talking about. Currently, we are in the mid-year of 2025. Some lawmakers believe that the question or the conversation of the 2024 budget shouldn't even, be coming up in the first place. Lawmakers like Senator Sheriake Dixon was really concerned, where even accused the Accountant General of the Federation and also the Minister of Finance of selecting constituency projects that they want to finance and others that they do not want to finance. Other lawmakers like the likes of Senator Yahaya Abdullahi raised concerns over the continuous extension of budgets within years that it's not even their implementation year, raising further concerns as to the reason why the extension continues. But then again, the presiding officer, in person of the Deputy President of the Senate, had explained that it is important for this extension so as for the federal government to meet up with its obligations, financing projects that ought to have been completed in 2024. As at the moment, he had mentioned that some contractors had actually left the work site because they have not been paid, also because of concerns, about the budget timeline. So the extension is supposed to help to clear up funds for the payment of some of these obligations.
Sagir, there are worries that the reason why this has been extended one more time, this is the second time, and at the end of which will be for an entire year, is that there seems to be some distractions when it comes to those, the parties that ought to be involved in this. Now, was it an obvious worry? Was it an obvious thing there at the Senate that they were worried about the fact that there might be ambitious political factors that are responsible, perhaps maybe distractions even?
some of these weren't expressly discussed on the floor of plenary today. But like I mentioned, other lawmakers expressed concern. So not everybody expressly agreed, with just an extension without registering complaints. Like I mentioned, Senator Seriake Dixon is one of them. In fact, during his submissions, he had mentioned that maybe it's because the government of the day is more focused on getting more lawmakers to join the All Progressive Congress and focusing on the 2027 elections, as the case may be. But then these were some of the nuances that we got from the National Assembly. And of course, it is hoped that all of the issues regarding the budget will be addressed to ensure that these funds are cleared up and to ensure that all of these obligations are met.
The National Assembly is not just the only house that has to actually pass this. The House of Reps is still debating. What have you heard regarding their concerns or maybe the efforts that they might be putting in?
So for the House of Representatives, they've not made so much progress in terms of the passage of the bill. The House of Representatives actually stopped at second reading. Reasons because the chairman of the Committee of Supply, which is usually either the Deputy President of the Senate or the Deputy Speaker of the House of Representatives. In the case of the House of Representatives, which is the Deputy Speaker of the House, wasn't on seat. So there was no mechanism for them to go ahead with clause-by-clause consideration. So at this House of Representatives, it has not gotten to third reading yet, but it is hoped then that in the coming days, most likely clause-by-clause consideration, of the bill's amendments would be made, and of course, it would also scale. But of course, this is the situation as it is.
Well, Sergey, thank you very much for giving us the situation as it is. We might be coming back to you for more updates, but thank you very much. Now we move to our next guest, and we have with us lawyer, Mr. Mr. Eze Onyekbere. Mr. Onyekbere, you're welcome. Thank you very much for joining us this afternoon.
My pleasure.
Fantastic. Now, Mr. Onyekbere, what's your worry here? This has been pushed for an entire year, as it seems. The second time it's been pushed. Do you have any concerns regarding the situation?
Let me start by saying that the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999 as amended never anticipated what is happening today between the Senate and House of Representatives. Yes, the law said the legislature has the authority to define the financial year, but that is a general authority to make law. For instance, the financial year is a period between January 1 and 31st December. If in the wisdom of the legislature, they believe the financial year as defined currently is no longer good for the country, they can change that definition. But they lack the powers to extend capital budget implementation for a year that is outgone up till June of the following year, and then in June trying to shift it to either October or December. That is a power they lack. And so what they're doing is clearly illegal and unconstitutional. And that tells you that the government is not focused enough to implement capital projects. What is the message about the implementation of the 2025 Appropriation Act if we are still shifting the goalposts for the full implementation of 2024 up till October or December of the following year? So it means, in essence, that the implementation of 2025 capital budget may not have started. So it is a very worrisome trend, and ordinarily, the laws are clear. If you have a vote on the 31st of December, even if money is available, it lapses. The expectation was that all the projects of 2024 that were not fully implemented, by the time you were preparing the 2025 budget, you make them the opening votes, the opening submissions to the legislature, so that you carry them over and then introduce a few new ones which the available money could support, and not to continue carrying projects over and over year after year. So what they are doing is surprising, is illegal, and is unconstitutional.
Now, you did mention that there might be distractions there. Exactly how did you mean? Let's clarify that. It's very interesting to note that this is not the first time that this has been pushed. It's been pushed again for 6 months down the line. And there are worries from the Senate itself regarding the reason why this is being done. But what are your takes on that note?
it is an unfortunate scenario. If you listen to the news, the names that were being mentioned were more or less names from the opposition, okay, not from the ruling party. And that tells you that the Senate itself is degenerating, because after elections, the Senate is supposed to be the Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. It's not supposed to be a Senate where people make submissions based on partisan lines without considering the interest of the generality of Nigerians. So I believe and I think that pressure should be brought on the National Assembly to bring a closure to the 2025 budget implementation. And like was suggested, it appears that the federal government, 2 years into its tenure, is already being distracted by the politics of who gets reelected in 2027, when it has not justified the tenure that has been granted to it by the Nigerian people, or the cause declared was granted to it. So it's really unfortunate. It's a scenario which nobody would like to visit on his country or on his state.
Could you tell what might be the possible implications of this shift once again, especially on the economy, on the common man who might be on the streets and not knowing exactly why this is such a big deal? How could this affect them?
Now, if you recollect, the budget is a maze of figures. You say you are doing 50 trillion. Of that 50 trillion or 10 or 20, the money you are using to pay salaries, except the civil servants, it doesn't touch anybody, or maybe the few goods and services they will purchase. The money you use to pay politicians within the National Assembly is for them. The money you use to service debts, if some of it go outside of the country. The only money that touches the lives and livelihoods of the common people is the capital vote. That's the capital budget implementation. It is there that money is for repair of roads or construction of new ones, for schools, for hospitals, for electricity, you name it. So if you don't expend the capital votes, that means you are not touching the lives of the people. Mm-hmm. And I'm not discussing administrative capital, which is like buying cars for legislators or buying cars for members of the executive and civil servants. I'm talking of developmental capital, which impacts on the lives of the people. So it is clear by this proposal from the executive to the legislature that they've not been able to substantially impact on the lives of the people. And this comes at a time they are singing their own praises for doing what they consider to be a marvelous and great job within 2 years. So if they have not spent the money that is supposed to touch the lives of the people, from where did they get those achievements they claimed? It's obvious that it is all propaganda.
That's a very interesting way to look at it, Mr. Eze. I hadn't seen it from that angle personally. But a bill that's passed first, second, and third reading on the same day, we're waiting for the House of Reps perhaps maybe to pass or not. Would you say that if you're looking at it from your standpoint, that due diligence might have been taken in passing these bills, or was it perhaps maybe just a way to cover up some inefficiencies like you have just stated now?
Well, that's why some Nigerians believe the Senate and even the House are behaving like rubber stamp legislatures. In no part of the world is due legislative diligence done by raising the gavel and say, I read it first time, I read it second time, and of course somebody will shout and the ayes have it. That's not the way to dispassionately consider a bill that will touch the lives of the people. Yes, we may need expedited passage or hearing, but doing 3 readings in 1 day is a mockery of the legislative process and doesn't show that the legislators in the Senate understand the real reasons why Nigerians are paying them such humongous amounts of money they take away from the treasury. Not that we are paying them, which they take away on their own volition, on their own evil, whether we like it or not. They are not justifying the money they are taking from the treasury. It's an unfortunate scenario.
Mr. Ayekperi, Senator Abba Moro, if I'm not mistaken, yes, he warned that the legislator might actually face ridicule for always stepping in to cover up delays, as he put it, for the finance ministry. The question is, how damaging might this actually be for public perception, public trust of the legislature?
Well, for me, I've never had so much hope since I understood the way they were behaving, that they were too partisan to be objective. So, but ideally, any reasonable man, whether you are a public policy analyst or budget expert or economic expert, you will understand that what is happening is wrong. But we are saying, how can we be able to convince these gentlemen and ladies to say never again? Yes, you may have misbehaved in approving these things in the past. Why can't they come to their senses and say, from now henceforth, we are no longer going to be part of these shenanigans? It also shows the failure of oversight, because if they have exercised reasonable oversight over the Ministry of Finance and Budget Office to release money, because the monies are available, they've raised the loans, they've collected the revenue, which they've told us that they now have enhanced revenue. The proceeds from the removal of fuel subsidy are coming in on a daily basis. So there is absolutely no reason why they have not released monies. Because some friends I asked in the MDAs recently said that little or nothing has been released for 2025. So they're still on 2024, which shows that they are still going to ask to carry over 2025 into 2026. So it's like a perpetual cycle.
Now, unfortunately, I think we might have lost Mr. Eze there. We will try to get him back so that we can conclude this conversation. There's so much more I would have loved to ask him regarding the situation. But we do have our National Assembly correspondent, whom we will be going back very soon to speak with. Maybe he might give us one or two details that we might have missed from before. But currently, it is still happening now, and we are talking about the instance that has just brought or caught our attention now, as the Nigerian Senate has passed the bill amending the 2024, if I'm not mistaken, bill, and pushing it all the way till December 2025 for the second time, as we are made to understand. We'll continue to bring you details as it unravels here on News Central, so do stay with us.